Kiss my aesthetic, branding, marketing, entrepreneurship.
Greetings and welcome back to the Kiss My Aesthetic podcast. She's a three-peat guest and you guys can't get enough of her. Welcome back, Lauren.
Hi, I was wondering if I was going to get to have friend of the pod status from the third.
Friend of the pod.
She's like, am I friend of the pod now?
Of course. Well, because I mention you in just about every episode. So I think what goes beyond friend, like it's your elite status now.
Yes, I can't wait. I mean, I'm already there, so that's exciting. But I can't wait to talk about AI more because that's just what I love to do.
Oh my gosh. And you're so good at staying up to date on everything. I get all of my AI news from you. So that's where I get my download of like, okay, I need to go check this out. But for anyone who doesn't know you and maybe hasn't listened to the last two episodes, let's just give them a refresher on who you are, what you do, and who you help.
My name is Lauren deVane, and I am your AI Auntie, and I am helping creatives, creators, and entrepreneurs learn how to use ChatGPT and other AI tools like MidJourney in their workflows, whether it's their creative workflow, their business workflow, or even their life, just like their day-to-day life, because there's so many ways that you can be using it. And so I've kind of shifted from a brand designer, creative direction role. I used to be the creative director at Ulta Beauty over their social media. And I've shifted into really just like seeing how everything that I've learned at that role, in my role at Bemuse doing brand design, could be used to like using AI in those fields and how you can amplify everything. And I just get so excited and so passionate about helping people understand how they can use this new tech and these new tools. And that's what I'm doing.
You're so good at it, which is the kicker. Like I love people who are good at their jobs, horse, because you just want everything that all of that energy is so transferable. You could tell that you like live it, breathe it, sleep it. It's your stuff. You're also fresh off South by Southwest. And so I have to ask you about some of the things that happened there. But let's start first and foremost with kind of just a rundown of some of the objections that people might have to AI tools, especially in the creative community. You shared a great post, actually, of an Annie Leibovitz interview. Can you tell people what that was all about?
Yeah. So Annie Leibovitz, if you don't know her, she is one of the greatest photographers alive right now. I mean, of all time, she has shot some of, if you don't know her name, you definitely know her work. She has shot some of like the biggest celebrities, some of the biggest heads of state, and she is just a force to be reckoned with. And she just came out and basically said, hey, I'm not scared of AI. I don't see this as a threat to what I'm doing. I see this as another tool in my toolbox. And I think that is the way that we all as creatives need to be thinking, rather than seeing it as a threat and seeing it as something that is competition to whatever it is that you do, whether you're a photographer, whether you are an artist, whether you are an illustrator, whether you're a designer, seeing it as a tool that you can add to your arsenal and be able to change or automate or elevate any different part of your workflow. So just figuring out how you can use these tools for yourself in the best way that feels great for you. I mean, Annie even said like photography is not totally, it's not all just me. There's tools involved in it. And so, to think about a camera as a photographer, you are framing that shot and you are deciding, your focal length, and you're deciding your film if you're shooting on film, and you're deciding the poses of the people in your shot. But you're still using this tool to capture it. And so, there's just so much opportunity for any creative to learn how to use these different tools and utilize them rather than being scared of them or threatened by them.
And I think as a population and as a culture, we always have to put on our critical thinking cap when we look at imagery. Like photography has never captured things exactly as they are. That's the whole bit of it, right? Like, and you saw this in the art world and art history where photography wasn't even considered an art form for a really long time because you were just capturing something. You weren't creating a drawing or creating a painting. And I think people that aren't in the art side of that, aren't studying new media, don't see this as that next frontier, don't see that as the new opportunity. But we should always be questioning things that look like photographs, whether they are real or not. Like, I think we saw this with Kate Middleton, right? Like, people said, I don't believe this photo. And I also don't believe that Kate Middleton like downloaded Photoshop on her laptop to mess around with the picture of herself. So let's be real. But good pros and cons, right? I believe you 100%. I'm so with it as like AI being a really helpful tool. I can think of a zillion use cases. But again, to kind of, I think we're always going to be having this discussion of whether it should, quote, be allowed. But I always come back to like, I don't want my accountant to do my taxes without a calculator. Like, I don't want her to sit there and do long division and multiplication and subtraction and addition by hand. Like, use the tools. Like, I'm not going to pay you by the hour to do math on paper. So again, if we can kind of like pull ourselves out of that. Since the last episode, I've started using a lot more AI tools that we've talked about. I think by the last time we chatted, I was really only in ChatGPT and MidJourney. And now you got me on Modify and Krea. And I love both of them. My goodness. Run us through your like dream roster list of AI tools and programs.
Okay, so all the ones you just said, obviously ChatGPT, and I want to stress that it's the paid version of ChatGPT, very different than the free version. So we're talking ChatGPT Plus, we're talking MidJourney, and that's where you can, create your images. And I think that MidJourney has the most photorealistic options for you of all of the image creation. And then you just spoke about Krea, which is another really cool tool. Another one like that is going to be Magnific. So Magnific is going to allow you to upscale your images, but you're actually, when you upscale, and when I say upscale, when you first get an image out of any of these tools, it's going to be somewhat small. It's going to be maybe 1080p by 1080, which is great for, Instagram. But other than that, it's going to be not ideal. And so we have the ability to use AI to actually help us upscale these images and make them bigger. And before we had AI, if you wanted to scale an image, you couldn't just scale an image because it was stretching the pixels, right? So you got this pixelated, just blurry looking image because you just said, all right, well, I'm going to try and make you bigger. Well, now we're using AI. And so it can actually predict what those missing pixels are and recreate them. And so you truly can scale your images very large. I printed something probably, I don't even know how big it was. It's on my wall now. It's like maybe like 5 feet by 3 feet. And it looks so crisp, and it's an AI image that I made. And so I used Magnific to upscale that. Modify is another one that you mentioned, and Modify is kind of like MidJourney, Photoshop, and After Effects, like all had a baby. So you can generate, edit, and animate all in one place, which is really cool. And then speaking of South by Southwest, and image and tools that do multiple things. I had the opportunity to hear the Leonardo AI team speak. One of their co-founders and a couple of team members spoke, and they were really, and I haven't played with Leonardo too much, but they really were pitching it as the Adobe Creative Suite for AI. So really allowing you to be able to do a lot of different things rather than having to jump from MidJourney to Magnific to do this, to do that. It's like, hey, you can do it all in here. And they're really saying that it's meant for the creative professional. So not necessarily someone that doesn't have a ton of experience, but if you are a designer, you're a creative director, you're already kind of in this space, Leonardo might be a good option for you. And that's leonardo.ai. And then there's also Visual Electric, which is another really awesome option that has, I think you get 30 free image generations per day if you don't want to pay for the plan. I have a pro plan because I love it. And it's a really awesome, simple interface. So rather than going into Discord, which you have to get on Discord for MidJourney right now if you don't have access to the alpha site, the Visual Electric platform is almost like an infinite canvas. So when it's creating the images, they're all just kind of almost like it's on an Illustrator artboard, and they're appearing, and they have set styles that you can easily select, easily pick the colors you want to use visually. And so it's a more intuitive process, I think, for someone that's already in the creative design space. And so I really like that option. They also have some really cool collage options. So I'm a big fan of Visual Electric. And then I am a huge fan of Cast Magic. Cast Magic is one that I maybe turned Berta onto, who is your podcast manager. And basically, you can take, it was meant originally for podcasters, but they've really blown it out. You can take any audio or video file and upload it, and then it's going to transcribe the entire thing. And then depending what it is, so whether it's a podcast or whether it's maybe a course recording or a sales call, you basically tell it what it is, and it's going to automatically spit out all of this content based on what was in there. So for a podcast, it's going to write your speaker notes for you. It's going to write an email to promote the podcast. It's going to pull all of the hooks and the quotes that you maybe want to turn into social media. And now they've just added a studio to it. So you can literally take those quotes and it will visualize them for you to post right into Instagram. Like it's just it's automating your content on such a high level. You can upload YouTube links. You can upload RSS feeds. You can put in TikTok URLs. You can put in Reels URLs. So if you're already creating this content and you want to just be able to automate even more content, Cast Magic is the GOAT for that, I think. And probably the last one that I'd like to talk about, and I haven't used it too much myself, but it's called Reloom, and it allows you to just put in a very short prompt about maybe what your business is, and it is going to go ahead and wireframe and sitemap an entire website for you in like 60 seconds with all of the copy that you can then bring into Webflow or Figma and just edit, right? It is truly mind-blowing. Like one of the things that I mean, I've played with a lot of AI tools, and this one I'm like, oh my,
That's impressive.
I say that about all of them.
No, but that's impressive.
There's just so many tools, you guys. And it's like every day there's new ones that are coming out. And it's just like, you really do want to kind of keep up with this. And I think really like kind of doing an evaluation of your business, like every 45 days, even, because something you couldn't do a month and a half ago, you might be able to do now. So just making sure that you're continuing to check on like what's available on the market for some of the things that maybe you're having issues with within your business or your workflow.
And again, I think this is a turning point, right? Like this is an opportunity where people's job descriptions are going to change. The job landscape is already changing, and either you can lean into the tools or you can get left behind. And those are kind of your two choices, because the thing is, if you're going to dig your heels in the sand and say, no, it only has to be this way, you will lose opportunities to people that have now embraced tools. And I think this is my biggest gripe with Adobe and Adobe Creative Suite, is them saying that this is the only way things can be done. And we see this on the website design side tenfold, right? Like people saying you have to custom code build your website. My parents are in the process of getting quotes for their website rebuild, and they're getting quotes that are insanely priced because they're saying we need all this page load speed, custom this, SEO that, da 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 da, and then we're going to charge you a recurring maintenance fee on top of the site. And I had this whole conversation with my dad, and I said, listen, like people don't use websites the way that we used to. Like there's no need to put every single project you've ever done on your website. It's just redundant. It's already getting posted on social media. So your website is like basically a contact form, especially for a service-based business, right? Like maybe our process, maybe kind of browse around a few projects, but just give people an opportunity to access you, and then you're good. And he goes, oh, so do you really think that websites aren't going to be a thing? I was like, well, this is the whole Web 2, Web 3 argument, right? Is like, yeah, if you go spend, tens of thousands of dollars on a website now, that's like investing in the railroads when like there's airplanes now. Like, what are we doing? It doesn't mean that the railroads go away.
I also think with the entrance of AI generated, or not AI generated, but AI assisted search like Perplexity, people aren't actually going to the websites anymore, because you can ask Perplexity a question. It's going to drop the sources for you and say, hey, these are the 6 places that I found this information from. Here's all the information you're looking for, though, right here. And it's like, okay, well, I don't really need to go to that site unless I'm like very sure I need to like check out, whatever it is, because even still, it'll pull the images for you too. It'll be like, oh, here's some pictures from the site. So I agree. I think things are changing. I also think SEO is probably changing based on the way that we're getting some of this information from these sites with these search engines or AI assisted search. So yeah, I think a lot is changing. I think I don't know if you're using the Arc browser, but they have a new search. I don't know if you're using Arc search on the phone, but you literally just type in what you want and it creates your own little website for you where it's broken down with emojis and headlines. And then here's all the sources we found it from if you want to go deeper. But we're going to give you all these answers right here in bullet point form. And for someone with ADHD, that is what I need
It's
because
huge.
I
Yeah.
don't have, I can't focus all the time. I can land on a website and then I get distracted by the little gift that they had in the corner and then I'm off and not even paying, you know what I mean? And so it's like if someone's just like, here it is, clear as day on a white background, here's the information you need. For a lot of people, that's what they're after rather than having to fish through and find the recipe on the blog post that was all the way at the bottom because they had to fill up the entire blog post with SEO to make it relevant.
Yep.
Like it's just not going to be a thing anymore. And so it's going to be very interesting to see where this goes. And, a lot of people are going to be upset about it because they spent their entire career becoming, a web designer. But this, unfortunately, there is going to be change. And it's going to, we're going to say to the web designers, well, let's start thinking about how you can be using AI to differentiate yourself and provide websites that maybe are a little bit different, but you know how to use AI. So you're able to provide them with actually what they need. Right. And so I think it's all about evolving.
Web designers should be 1,000% learning image generation tools. Because how many times have you worked with a client where they did not have brand photos or they did not have, but they still want to have a beautiful like on-brand site? Like that's what we're focusing on providing is AI is completely integrated to our process from square one. We take the brand questionnaire that we work through with the client, that goes to ChatGPT. We have follow-up questions. It kicks out what we're now calling like a brand boilerplate, which are essentially all the questions that ChatGPT asks you when you create your custom GPT. So we're giving that back to our clients as a recipe saying, hey, here, plug this in so that whenever you're writing in your own ChatGPT, you're getting answers that sound like your brand. And then we're using all of that to have ChatGPT write for me 10 different scenes that depict this brand for MidJourney. That goes over to MidJourney, start kicking out stuff over here. MidJourney, we take an image that we like, we're sending it back to ChatGPT, describe this image, describe the era, describe 10 additional scenes that look like this. But what I started showing, similar to you, was how many iterations it takes to get to the image that we see as creatives in our head. And that's the part that we have to work on educating our clients about, is that it's not that I'm using the AI to do my job. It's that it's more quickly showing me the image that I have in my head. And it's helping me get closer to the vision that we've already discussed, that we've already talked about. And I think in that language, it's hard to argue against that logic of like, oh, okay, so I'm going to get better looking stuff faster. Cool. You know what I mean? Instead of hand drawing a Baroque frame, I'm going to go to ChatGPT and have it kick out options until I get the one that's going to work for the use case of the social media graphic for the interior design company, right? So it's stuff like that where I think if we can lean into using it as a tool and using it as a process, but your value as a creative should never be solely on the final product. I think you have to sell your process and you have to sell how you're ahead of the curve, and you have to sell how what you do is so special and different and unique for that specific problem that you're solving. Are you having conversations like this in Basecamp in your community group?
Yeah, I mean, there's definitely people that are in Basecamp, in the community, in the Launchpad community, people are, everything. We don't just have brand designers in there. We have photographers. We have copywriters. We have also fashion designers, like all sorts of different creatives. And they're all using them in very different ways. And I think that's what is so powerful about these tools is that it's not one size, or I guess it is one size fits all, kind of. I guess when you think about it that way, it's like there is one tool that you can use that can be used so many different ways. And that's what I think is so powerful, is really the ability to take it in so many directions. And the idea of rapid iteration, I agree, that's one of my biggest reasons for using it, is to be able to come up with so many different concepts or so many different ideas and then be able to narrow it down rather than being like, okay, I came up with 3 ideas in the last 3 weeks. It's like, no, I can come up with 30 good ideas. And then myself, as the person that understands what I'm looking at and what I'm trying to solve, can narrow it down and then say, okay, a day later, I can go to the client and say, all right, we've got all these different concepts. What do you want us to here's what we think are the best options. From here, what do you want us to actually go in and continue to work out? From there, you've got then 3 that they've already approved on that you can then go and really flesh out with AI very, very quickly. And so does it need to be the final project? product? No. Could you have it concept all these different illustrations and then they choose a style and then you go and actually illustrate the 3 that you actually want to use? Yes. Or do you go and actually create them using AI? You're able to do both of these things. And I do think what you said about being able to speak to it is so important. And that's why I really try and, like, in Basecamp, talk to people about the why of it all and how they can do it, not just like, this is what you do, because you have to be able to explain why you're using it. And I also think that outside of AI, that is one of the biggest misconceptions of like working for yourself and being a brand designer. You could be the best designer out there. If you cannot explain to people why they need it and why they should be working with you and why you can differentiate yourself, it does not matter. It doesn't matter because you can't. And that's the same as using AI. You have to be able to articulate why. And with AI, you have to be able to articulate those ideas to AI of what you have in your brain. So the people that can ask the right questions and the people that are able to articulate their thoughts are going to be the ones that are going to kill it in the AI space, as well as the business space. I just think those two things are so important, and understanding and being able to confidently talk about the why and how it's going to help them, how it's going to save them money, how it's going to save them time, how they're going to be able to charge more, how they're going to be able to work less. Like, you lay it out for them like that, boom, they're in, like, it's just a no-brainer at that point.
And I think now what's so exciting about the AI space is how quickly everything improves and how niche you can get to your specific job. Like, my biggest goal now with our team is I want them seeking out the types of workshops, seminars, tutorials, tools that I don't need to learn because it's not my specific job, but for them is going to help them improve. So like sending Gabby to your copywriting roundup, hoedown exercise, right? Like making sure that she got an opportunity to really learn that side of how to create better copy on behalf of the clients, because it's going to save everyone, like you said, save time, save money, but it's going to also make your clients more money. It will make them more money if they can talk specifically to exactly their ideal client. And for anyone who's like, well, everyone, like, AI is going to ruin the job market, and are you going to make AI logos now? Like, yeah, we are. Like, that is exactly what we're doing. But again, just like Fiverr, everyone getting upset about Fiverr, like, I remember being a young freelancer being like, oh, you should always hire a freelancer and not just someone from Fiverr. No, if the person who's trying to get a logo for $5 is not my ideal client, I do not need to educate that person on why they need to spend $15,000 on a logo. That's not I'm talking to the wrong crowd. So that's the other thing I think we have to think of, is figuring out who the heck you're talking to. And I think clients struggle with this as well, right? It's like there's this tendency to want to cast this huge net and capture as many fish as possible. It's like, no, you need just like 5 really big fish. Like, you're fine, What do you think about all that?
Yeah. Yep. I absolutely agree. And I think that even when we think about, like, you've been talking about speaking to your ideal client, I don't know if most people even understand that ChatGPT is capable of that, right? And that's one of the biggest things that I actually teach in my course, is how to speak to your ideal client and how to even use it to figure out who your ideal client is. Because that is, again, like, if you can explain yourself and speak to yourself and what you're really great at, and then you can help your clients do the same thing, it's going to just elevate everything for you and them. And so in order to get ChatGPT to speak to those people, you have to explain to ChatGPT who that audience is. And once you do that, it's like, oh, I'm ready. You got questions for me? I got answers for you, because it understands exactly who that persona is, that avatar is. You can literally write all of your copy to speak exactly to their concerns, their hopes and dreams, their goals, their fears, like whatever it is that you need it to do, it can do that because it can put itself figuratively in their shoes. And it's really, really incredible what it can do. And I think that is one of the most powerful parts about this, is most people think it sounds so robotic. Oh, it's not personalized, because you don't know how to use it. When you know how to use it, it's going to do that. And so I think the same idea goes for when you were talking about Fiverr. I think about it like Canva. Like, as a designer who learned Adobe my whole life, it was like Canva's out here telling everyone that they can be a designer. And it's like, yeah, they could be a not great designer. They still don't know the actual, what they need to know about design. They didn't go to design school. So unless they, have done that education on their own, they can put some fonts together and pick some colors and throw it on a page and it'll be okay. But I, as a designer, can jump into Canva and easily create something beautiful because I know the basics of
You
how
know
to
the
design.
fundamentals. Yeah, you know the fundamentals like light, shape, color, form, texture. There's another one I'm forgetting, but there's like 7 fundamentals of art, right? Clearly, it's stuck really well. But you have to know that you either have an aesthetic eye or you don't. Just like you either love to cook or you hate to cook. But most people that hate to cook is because they don't understand that you need a combination of like salt, fat, acid, and heat to balance your dishes. And then once you understand the foundations, then you can make anything. Then you're like, oh, I want to make a sauce. I want to make a carnitas bowl. I want to make a this. I want to make this cuisine. Oh, these flavors go with that flavors. That's going to be harmonious. These two things contrast each other. It's the same principles. But if you never learned the foundations, you're going to struggle and you're going to be also intimidated by tools that seem to like give you a cheat, right? So just like a cook would be intimidated by someone who learns to cook technically could be upset at someone else for using like a meal starter kit or using like a HelloFresh or a Blue Apron, right? You're like, well, that's not really cooking. You're just using somebody else's stuff. But you're learning the tenets of cooking. You're just learning it in a way that's approachable to you. And I think about that with like Canva, right? Or AI tools for a lot of people. Like so many people are bad writers, bad copywriters. I happen to love copywriting in my own way. I wouldn't call myself a copywriter, but I think there's so much we can communicate through copy. But I've used ChatGPT to like even decode client emails because clients will send me emails that are like 7 paragraphs long. And I'm like, what the heck are you actually trying to say? So I won't even read it. I'll just copy the whole thing into ChatGPT and say, give me the top 3 line items from this message. And I'm like, okay, bulleted. I can understand this in a way that works for my brain. And instead of trying to sit there, decode the whole thing, go back, ask questions, I just responded back to that client and I said, here's the ChatGPT version of what you just said. And they said, LOL, point taken. Because when you have to delegate things to people, you just have to delegate and be direct. And I don't need all the reasoning. I don't need all the fluff. I just need to know what the heck you're looking for. So it's very interesting because I think there's obviously a bajillion and 5 use cases. Our team has been loving all the AI tools. We love that we can literally pull from like eras gone by or like use it to create brand imagery. So we're not using the same stock photos that everyone's using. But I think also we're seeing a shift from volume of content to quality of content, which makes me really excited because we do have automation. It's not so much that you need to say so many different things. You need to say a few things very well and very thoroughly in different types of ways. You do this really well between like your reels and and then onto your carousels and then on threads and go in all the different places in emails. Like even your emails sound consistent. And I think that is exciting to me because it's coming from one big piece of thought leadership, which I feel that we've lost on social media because people just started posting what everybody else was posting. Walk us through your own creative workflow of like, okay, this is exciting to me. I want to share about it. How are you taking something from idea all the way through to content?
You're going to hate this answer, but
I'm sure I'm not.
I mean, I'm very ADHD. I have literally 0 content calendar. I don't plan anything, literally anything you see on maybe some emails, but I really don't send that many emails because I don't plan. But like on Instagram, if I have a thought or an idea, I just stop whatever I'm doing and just go and do it. And then I post it. Like, that's why my post time is weird. It's just whenever it comes to me and I create it and then I post it. Maybe there's a plan. I'll think, okay, Valentine's Day is coming up. April Fool's is coming up. Like, let me at least like think about this idea. But that's, it's not very far in advance. And it's March 25th as we're recording this. I will start thinking about what I'll do for April Fool's like in 2 days maybe, and then jump into ChatGPT and say, okay, April Fool's is coming up. Give me 10 ideas that are going to be relevant and engaging for my audience. It already knows who my audience is. It already knows what I do. So all I have to do is ask that question. If I didn't have custom instructions turned on, it would be like, I don't know. And it would just spit out random things that were not relevant to my audience, were not relevant to what I do. But because it knows that, it's almost like this like shortcut, and I can just go and get these ideas and it'll spit out 10 ideas. I'll be like, oh, that one's interesting. Give me 5 more, like break that down in 5 different ways for me. And then it'll be like, okay, here's 5 different ideas for it. So from there, I'll be like, all right. And I will then be like, what if we did this? And what if I did that? And then it would, we'd spitball. And that's really how I use it, is as like a brainstorm buddy, as a partner in prompting. And I really go back and forth with it until I get it to where I want. And then I'm like, okay, can you write me I'll go and create and design something. I'll drop that in and say, all right, can you write me a caption for this? And it already knows my voice and tone. So it'll spit me out a caption. I'll tell it that's not very good, redo it, and it'll go and fix it. And then I'll post it. And it's, and half the time it's so wild to me that I'm seeing everyone talk about, oh, it's so obvious when ChatGPT writes stuff. It's so obvious. No, it's so obvious when people that don't know what they're doing are using ChatGPT.
Yep.
You guys half the time have no idea when I'm using it in my posts. Some of my most popular posts were written by ChatGPT. One of them was like the ins and out of, 2024. And most of those ideas were ChatGPT. And the comments from people are like, I've never felt more seen. I've never related better. And it's like, yeah, because ChatGPT knows how to be relatable to graphic designers that have ADHD, because it can put itself in its shoes. And so to be able to, and maybe that makes people mad, but why?
But
why?
Co-signing on the you're still the editor-in-chief of the content. It's not that you've turned off your brain, put it on a shelf and said, okay, robot, go for it. You still are the Anna Wintour of the magazine of your social.
Exactly.
Saying, this is allowed, this is not allowed, this passes, this does not. That's the role that people need to be in with their content, because that's really where you do carve out that unique perspective, that unique point of view. And I think that, again, same with, I've even noticed with my own images I'm making on MidJourney, I have a very specific niche and specific style that I like to see come out of the images. And it's my own aesthetic. It's these really juicy, wanderlusty, travel-y photos that make you want to go sit and be in that place, because I'm so into that sense of place. And every time I made a mock-up, it's era, place, art history style, photography style, where you feel like you could just walk into the scene, because I am not a photographer and you put a camera in front of me and I have no idea what any of the buttons are or what they mean. So to me, to be able to strengthen that muscle that always felt like an Achilles heel gives me so much more confidence in communicating my ideas. And it gives our clients so much more confidence in seeing what they want in 3, 5, 10 years time realized. What a gift that is to be able to show someone, this is what your HQ could look like. Here's your dream office. Here's your 100-person retreat in Tulum. This is what it could look like, because they oftentimes will say that they want these things, but then to be able to show them a visualization is so powerful. It's so powerful on a brand design side.
I would 100% agree with you. And I think that is what your job is as a brand designer, is putting these people in, literally being able to let them see what their brand can be if you take over and if you bring in your expertise of what you know and can show them. But I do want to go back to you talking about how you're I have no idea how to use the camera. ChatGPT can help you learn how to do any of these things that you don't want to do. So I said earlier, you could go use Canva and not be good at it if you didn't go to design school. Well, guess what? ChatGPT is democratizing education now. So if you want to get a design education, you jump into ChatGPT and you tell it, hey, I want to learn how to use Adobe Illustrator. I have zero experience, but I want to learn how to do it. Can you please set up a 6-week course for me? Each week, I need about an hour and a half that I'll be able to spend using it. Can you take me through the basics? It will break down and create a course for you that, obviously it's not like a course. I'm using quotes if you're not watching, if you're listening to this, but it will be able to break down and teach you all the things that you need to learn. And same with if we are using Perplexity, which is the AI assisted search, you go in and say, teach me how to create a logo using Illustrator. It's going to go and find some of the best YouTube videos that are out there. It's going to go read through Reddit. It's going to go read through Adobe or Canva or whatever you're going to use. It's going to find all that best information. And it's going to summarize it for you. And it's going to give you a step-by-step on how to do that thing. So these tools are able to allow you to learn how to do things you've never learned or never been able to learn before in such a customized and timely fashion, and $20 a month.
Yeah. It's just it's a quantum leap in what you could learn. The way that the internet was, you know what I mean? You don't have to go to the library to find a book, to read the back of the book, to figure out what other books they cited, to then go on a whole, I remember doing this in college. This is going to be the kind of things that we tell our kids someday of well, back in my day, blah, 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 blah. Half of our sources had to be from physical books in the physical school library. Talk about a limitation of knowledge. talk about a limitation of time and opportunity and research. And I remember writing out the things I wanted in my thesis paper, each talking point on a different index card, and then trying to organize my thoughts based on index cards. And it just is crazy to me that like that whole world is now different and is going to continue to be different. The idea of the democratization of information is so exciting, but it's teaching you technical skills. It's not teaching you critical skills. So just like we said at the beginning of the episode, like, yes, you should have a certain amount of suspicion of any image you see on the internet. Also, like, take into consideration the results you're getting kicked out, right? Like, there is definitely more impartial bias coming from the whole of the internet, but who's to say that like you couldn't evolve GPT to only give you information from certain places, right? Or just like if you only watch certain channels of the news, you're going to get a very different story. So I hope that these AI tools can do a better job of collating all the information, comparing the information, giving you both sides of the story, giving you the devil's advocate argument of what you think to either help you explain how you think better, challenge how you think, or help you figure out like, no, I actually do believe this. So I think, again, the time save that we're getting from using these tools hopefully drives more people to want to think critically and have hard conversations and talk to their peers and talk to their community and have discussions like this, because that is also so important for the continuation of these kind of results, right?
For sure. And I think we have to remember too that like this is the worst they're ever going to be, you know?
True.
And so they're only going to get better. We're only going to have more, you know, regulation around. And it's hard, you know, the bias thing is hard because it's just what exists on the internet. But we are getting other large language models that are being built that are built on data that is specific to make sure that it is not biased, right? So I think I totally agree with you. And I think we just have to like be very aware of how we're using them. The other thing too is what I like a little ChatGPT trick that I like to use is to tell ChatGPT to act as like a critical thinker and to act as devil's advocate and to go back in and say, hey, I want you to call out why this is not right. And it will be able to do, you know what I mean? So like, there's just so many possibilities. And I think we just have to really just make sure that we're embracing it, but being aware of all of the not so great parts of it.
Yeah, the nuance. Like, I don't think you should ever trust one tool 100% blindly, right? Like, technology in general, we shouldn't trust 100%. I think this is why so many people our age have like anxiety and depression, is because you see on the highlight reel on social media, it's not showing you realism, but somehow we forgot that, or somehow we perceive the things to be posted to be 100% real. Like, no, when I'm posting my photo dump, believe me, I am like laying on my bed fully horizontal, chins, like face mask on. Like, no, it does not, it's not a glamorous deal, right? But there is that dissonance between our digital persona and our real life persona. How into Web3 updates are you before we start talking about MidJourney Alpha? Because
not a ton.
None, but you did do a Vision Pro demo, didn't you?
Oh yeah,
Vision
I definitely
Pro?
did.
Okay, tell
Dude,
me
it was so cool. It was so cool.
Okay, so explain to someone who has no idea what Apple Vision Pro is.
Okay, geez Louise. So Apple Vision Pro is basically a massive like ski goggle headset basically that you put on, and it's fully immersive at points if you want it to be, but you can just watch movies and see your photographs and see your panoramic photographs in full pano. Like you are immersed in that space. The videos are wild. Some of these things that they've shot specifically for the Vision Pro, but also you can use it to like work. And so if you are already in the Apple ecosystem, you can have that thing on and be as if you are working in your laptop. It's pretty crazy, some of the things that I've seen it be able to do. I didn't buy it yet just because it's the very first round. It is expensive, and my dad always taught me don't buy things in their first iteration, even though sometimes I want to. But I'm glad that I didn't, because there were a lot of people returning it, not for any specific reason. Probably there was a 14-day trial window, and so people probably bought it and said, all right, I'm playing with this for 14 days, and if I feel like I'm going to use it, I'm going to use it. But I definitely foresee it getting even better in the future. I think once there's more AI built into the Apple ecosystem right now, we're hearing murmurs that Google Gemini is going to be built into iOS 18. I saw today that maybe Claude 3, which is Anthropic's large language model, was going to be built into it. They just partnered with a Canadian company to possibly bring in their AI. I think it's wild that Apple doesn't have something that they've been working on their own, but I know they were focused on the car. I don't know. But the point is, I think once AI is really built into it, I think that's when it's going to be a huge game changer. And I think we're going to see a lot more people walking around the streets with these things on, because you can see through it. Like once you've got it on,
Right.
you can be walking and you can see your notifications and you can have screens up, but you also can see your actual environment, which is wild.
Well, and I think there's three immediate use cases for within my own family. So myself as a brand designer, my sister is a destination wedding planner, and my mom is an interior designer. So my sister, when we were in Mexico last weekend, got the prompt. She got the new iPhone that says like record for Apple Vision Pro horizontally. So she started recording like the venue tour as we were setting up for the wedding. She's like, this is going to be so useful for someone who's never been here. And I can go get the Apple Vision Pro and be like, oh, you want to see what this place looks like here? Or you have one at home. Let me send you the file and you can look at it to scale, by the way. So then we were capturing some videos and stuff of like the couple on the dance floor with all of their friends or walking down the aisle in that horizontal format being like, okay, this is going to be cool. Like it may not be the iteration that is going to be amazing, but to have it at the forefront of it is pretty fucking cool. It's like being one of the first people to have a camcorder, right? Like same idea. Same for my mom, like home renovations. Oh, do you want this countertop, this countertop, this countertop, this size couch, this size couch, or this size couch? And then from a brand design standpoint, like if a client's trying to ideate on their conference design or their retreat or their office or their branded client experience, like why not have that in a virtual reality type setting instead of just seeing something flat? It just makes so much.
I mean,
I'm pumped.
My mom's a real estate agent too. And so it's the same thing. She pays a certain amount of money to have images staged, just digitally staged. I'm like, Mom, you don't even need to, you can do that on your own now. And like, my mom is not a design, my mom's a real estate agent, right? Like she has gone and used Dolly without even really me teaching her too much about it, created a new logo for herself that is like based on, you know, a fountain in our town. And then like she is a smart woman. She can articulate what she wants regardless of being a designer, and it's able to spit out all these different ideas for her. But same thing is like being able to like truly like show someone a home that is fitted with all of the things that they would want in it, especially now if we can get brands to get on board with some of this 3D. And we're already starting to, I've already talked to a couple businesses at South by that we're doing this, but it's literally like, okay, we're going to bring in this couch from Wayfair and we're going to bring in this light from CB2. And now you're going to be able to walk through your entire room and be like, I don't know if I like that couch. Let's change the color. And you are going to be able to visualize everything. It's crazy.
It's the same thing I was explaining to my friends' parents who were visiting. And this was 2021 or 2022 when we were first having some of these conversations. Like, it was before I even had you on the podcast. I was trying to explain virtual reality. And I was saying, like, what part of the experience of going on Nordstroms.com and looking for a pair of brown booties and scrolling through 87 pages is a good user experience? None. You know what is a good user experience? Walking into the Nordstrom shoe department, having the sales associate bring forward 3 pairs of shoes that they know you're going to love and 2 pairs that you hadn't considered, and you being able to try them on. That's a good user experience. So I think where we're getting to with virtual reality and e-commerce is also fascinating, because I don't want to see 7,000 options. I want to see the best 5 based on what I specifically need. And to be honest, I don't really want to go through and filter through everything. I want to just see it in front of me in 3D, spin it in real life, whatever, or virtual reality, and be like, oh, yep, that's the solution that I need. Because why do we need to go through all of this? This is just not a good experience anymore. And I think, again, that goes back to us talking about how websites are changing. And it is kind of my gripe with how MidJourney runs currently. It is very difficult to see those 4 options of images nestled within Discord, nestled within the conversation. But MidJourney Alpha is out. I just realized that you can use it today, this morning, before talking to you on the phone. I was like, how have I missed this? But tell us about MidJourney Alpha, what it is and what it does.
So right now, the only way to make images for MidJourney was using the MidJourney bot inside of Discord. Now, there's always been a midjourney.com website that you can go and see all of the images you've created, but you weren't able to actually create the images on this website. You had to use Discord. which is kind of confusing to people if you've never used it. And even if you have used it, it's still a little bit confusing to use the bot inside there to be creating images. So the MidJourney Alpha site allows you to actually create your images on their website. And it is such a more intuitive experience. You get your images, you can see them much bigger, you can iterate much faster. It's just overall such a better experience in my opinion. And right now, at the time of recording this, you have to have made 1,000 images in MidJourney on the Discord. If you have not made that many, you're not going to have access yet. But they've been working on it for a while. I've had access for a few months. And so it should be available to everyone soon because they know that Discord is a barrier to entry and they want people to be able to access it and be able to play with it. And, that is some of the benefits to some of these other tools is it's just a lot more intuitive and that's why people are using them. But the images aren't as good. And so using the new site is just next level. I think it makes the process so much more seamless. And allows you to play so much faster. And I'm just obsessed with it.
Same. And I'm also been super impressed by Canva's like image editing tools with their AI tools. So like the magic expand and the magic erase, and to like item swap. Like we have a launch coming up for Hotel Lobby Candle where the hand is holding the candle and instead I erased over it and put something else in the hand that was like the smell of the candle fully looks like a full photograph. Like that ability is really wild. And I think it allows us to have so much more fun creatively to kind of flex our muscles. But also the reason I was using MidJourney Alpha today was the web designers working on the website for one of our client projects and asked me to expand scenes to fit mobile versus desktop of some of the MidJourney images that we use and upscale them. Perfect use case, right? Like here's an opportunity to take something and really make it fit exactly the parameters that you need. So there's just like a bajillion and 5 reasons why someone might want to just dip their toe in the pool. I think a lot of people are still intimidated. And I think as soon as I've been able to show people like either on video share or send them to your course, they're like, oh, okay, you're not messing around. Like I sent one of my best friends over to Basecamp. Her company paid for it. So if you're working for a company, consider that. And she was able to create images for their trade show booth. Like their full trade show booth in Las Vegas, all of these super scientific, super high res imagery for this entire display that's going to be like a 20-foot display with AI images where they saved so much money on producing a photo shoot, right? So I think those possibilities are really enticing, especially for lean teams, especially for small marketing departments where your photo shoot expenses are in the thousands and thousands of dollars. And it just doesn't make sense for every single pop-up, every single event that you do. That to me just like solves so many problems. So she was so proud of herself. She like went and showed, and it got approved, no edits. She's like, oh my God, I can't believe this. Like, this is amazing. She's like, I just got so much mental time back because I was able to create exactly what we wanted from square one instead of waiting 3 weeks down the road, hustling, and then trying to like slap together stock photos that from Adobe stock that all of our competitors are going to use at the same trade show.
Yep.
You know,
that is what's so beautiful about it. All of those things are what's so beautiful about it. And that's what's so like, I get so excited because it's like this reason and this reason and this reason and this reason. It's like the people that are using it, what are you thinking? Look at all of these reasons that it's making things faster. It's making things smarter. It's making things more creative. It's giving you more ideas. Like there is no limit to what you can do. And I think pairing the two, and I know you commented about how, in Canva, you took an image and you were able to use the magic erase to replace it. It's like, yeah, Canva can do that. You can also do that inside of MidJourney. You can also do that with generative fill in Photoshop. So it's like, just because you're not doing it in one of these tools, like you have access to all of these, they're all just getting better. Like I was listening to the podcast that you did on Canva, and you were talking about how it's not so great at actually image generation yet. And that's because it's still using DALL-E 2 inside of Canva. And DALL-E 2 is just really not that great. So as soon as they are able to start accessing DALL-E 3, I think that things are going to change drastically in terms of people being able to use it.
Yeah. Do you anticipate that like the big dogs in the, let's call it like creative space, the Adobes, the Canvas, are they just going to buy up all these little companies and then just continue to monopolize? Like we have the Procter & Gamble and the Johnson & Johnson and they like all own all the stuff? Or is this really like, will things be more independently owned and it'll be more of a free market, knowing that they won't have the assets and the resources and the team to be able to advance to the level of an Apple or an Adobe or a Canva?
I think that's a good question. And I wonder that myself. I think we are seeing, brands use different tools to kind of run under their hood. So like Canva, they're using Dolly too, but it's not ideal. Whereas you've got Stable Diffusion, which is like a whole different image generation tool that is open source. And so there's a whole different, I don't use Stable Diffusion as much, but there's a lot of other tools that you can find like on apps and stuff that are using Stable Diffusion under the hood. And so it's going to depend. I do think like looking at, how these companies are funded is going to be important, because if they've got funding, you can kind of assume that they're going to be able to hopefully, ride off into the sunset and continue. But at the same time, I don't think any of these smaller companies would shake their, say, no, I don't want you to buy me, when these companies are going to be are going to be willing to pay a lot of money to buy up these companies. And so I think it's going to depend. I think it depends on who the founders are and what their beliefs are, and kind of just, we saw people leave ChatGPT or OpenAI to go to Anthropic because they had different beliefs. And so I think the way that we have to look at it is just kind of seeing what tools and what brands and founders and companies align with how we feel about using these products. And
which is what we should do all the time. It's what you should
Right. That's what I was just going to say. That is part of it.
With your hotels that you stay at, with the car you drive. Like, we should be conscious consumers. That's the whole point. So like, yes, I totally agree. And I think there's a lot of, it's exciting to me to see so many options. I think it reminds me of like when making an app was like the biggest deal ever. Remember, like when everyone's like, oh, they're making an app. And now we're all so over fucking whelmed with how many apps are on our phones that we're deleting everything. Yep. And now I can't even do half the shit I want to do because I have to like re-download Uber and Lyft every time I travel, because when I'm home, I don't use it. So it's like, you know what I mean? It's we're in that thing of like, there's now so much that the people I think that are going to thrive are the ones that creatively edit and also like get help from people that are specialists. So we did kind of say earlier in the recording that like, yes, the job market is changing. I think 3 jobs that I really think if I were a new freelancer starting a career tomorrow, I would become an expert in: content repurposing and content management. That's like one major job. The other one would be, and I don't even know how you'd go down this road, offering data insurance. Like data insurance. Like we have health insurance, we have car insurance. But who can I pay that when TikTok goes away can go either compensate me or go archive and categorize everything I've ever posted on TikTok, and that's covered. I pay like a monthly fee for my data to be protected.
So I have Notch insurance, and they've like stopped taking new people, but it's like my Instagram insurance. So if Instagram goes down or I get hacked, they let me know that I've been hacked, and then they pay me out per day if I don't have access. So there's something like that, but they've stopped taking new customers. But I agree. I think that is a huge piece. And I feel like we should be somehow off, like downloading all of the stuff that you've already created on TikTok so that you have, I'm sure you already are doing that.
Well,
you're doing that now. You can be putting all of it into Cast Magic and repurposing it, so you've got this database that you can then just chat with and be like, tell me something, create a new carousel about this idea, and it's going to be able to pull from all of your content that you've already created.
Find my top performing post from 2016 and tell me how to make it current. Like there's so many use cases. So like the content repurposer, content manager, which is actually a position that we're currently hiring for, we're interviewing for, where their whole job is going to be asset management on the client side. So getting all the branding assets in the right places, but also asset management on our side of making sure that all the social content is getting cataloged and into a database, and all the podcast content is getting cataloged and into a database. It's something I have not done consistently. I've started, but not been able to finish. And then I think the last position are these super, super niche GPT and AI specialists. Right? So like an AI specialist for your blog, an AI specialist for your social, an AI specialist for your packaging designs and packaging descriptions, and for your photo shoots, and like finding the person that's like, this is my teeny, 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 tiny part that I'm so good at because I use so many different tools that have made me good at my job, like pre-production and post-production for photo and video shoots. Like who's the person that's going to be the shepherd of that's going to use all the tools to cut down on the number of meetings that we have to have, the number of documents, and the number of schedules, and the number of bookings, and like all of that process, like virtual assistant on steroids, but a virtual assistant that knows how to use those tools to their advantage so that the cost to the business owner is still less.
For sure. And I think something else to consider, because I know that a lot of people are always talking about like, okay, AI is coming for your job. It's going to get rid of all of these people that are doing this one thing. And it's like, it's not getting rid of all of the people, right? So it's like taking, you have 10 designers. Now they only need 3 of you, and they're going to choose the 3 that know how to use AI to automate. So if
Or the
you're
3
good
with
at
the best
something,
ideas. The 3 people that go to
exactly.
museums and read books and watch movies and have conversations and contribute something. They aren't just technicians, they are contributors. They're contributing to furthering the conversation of whatever this creative thing is. And that's what AI
Right.
students are time back for. It's not that your design team went from 10 to 3. It's that you cut the 7 people that were just showing up, phoning it in, going home, not bringing anything new to the table, you know?
Yep. And you don't have to go and become a AI expert like I've done and shift everything you're doing. You just need to learn how to use ChatGPT for the one thing that you're already really good at, right? Or the things that you're not good at that can supplement that. So like if you're not good at writing and you don't feel like you're good at writing, then use ChatGPT to help you understand how to write better in your voice and tone, and or have it do it for you, but be able to understand that like this is something that you don't know how to do and you're using it to help you do that. But how can I take what I already know? And this is something I teach in Basecamp, is synthesizing what you know. That is one of the most important parts about using these AI tools. Because if you don't know the thing, and the other thing that we talked about is you have to have taste. If you're using it in design, like it's not going to teach taste. And so you are the curator, right? You are the one that's going to be able, and we talked about this, but be able to make those decisions of what is the right image, what is the right copy, what is the right strategy to work for this. So you still have to know what the fuck you're doing. It doesn't like, it's not taking away the knowledge of the actual person, because this AI can't do shit without someone driving. And so it needs, if they need a data scientist, it's going to be a data scientist that knows how to use AI, right? They have to have someone that actually can be able to discern from the outputs what is accurate and what is not. Not all the jobs are going away. You still are people still need these people to actually use the tool, the AI, with the thing that they are actually good
it's the same thing as using a meal kit to learn how to cook, right? Like use the meal kit, but it still has to taste good. Like it still has to be food. So like use the meal kit to get you started. And then the idea is the more you're using the meal kit, the more you're learning about different combinations of things. And the more you're learning about how the size of how you chop things affects their cook time.
Yeah.
You know what I mean? Like there's so many parallels here that I think can help people get into more of that mindset of using it as a tool. Like I use ChatGPT in the grocery store. I'm like, write me a recipe for a winter salad using only seasonal ingredients. And then it gives me a recipe and I said, there's no blood oranges here. What can I use to substitute? And it's giving me 6 other reasons. And I'd like to make a salad dressing that doesn't come from a bottle. Like what would go with this? Like, and just doing it that way, or having it when I'm planning a dinner party saying, I'd like to have a dinner party, make Indian food for 12 people. I need 2 entrees, 2 appetizers, and a dessert. Make me a grocery list itemized by section in the grocery store with quantities. And then I'm in the grocery store and it's just a breeze, and a little bit here and a little bit here, and just I'm out of there in 30 minutes. Like, and I'm not having a list.
Yep. I mean, there's just so many ideas. Like even like, okay, we've got Easter coming up, right? Maybe I was talking to my mom about what she was doing for the menu, and I was like, ooh, we could do like a make your own parfait board. And then I was like, oh, I used to make charcuterie boards. That was like my thing, is I'd design them and make them look really cool. Imagine just going into ChatGPT or Dolly or MidJourney and being like, give me an idea for this. And then just copying it, just going to the store and being like, okay, I need crackers that look like this. I need olives. I need this. And there it is. Just copy it. It's just so I could never.
Jesus.
Yeah.
Cheese Jesus for Easter. Jesus. That's the idea that came out of my brain.
But that's the thing, is like we are able to use these tools really good because we already have these really clever ideas, and then we're able to feed that in, and it's just like supercharged. If you don't already have really creative ideas, this thing can help you. But if you already are creative, this thing is just going to take you to the moon. Like that's what I continue to always say. Like copywriters, you guys are already really good at writing. This is just going to make your writing even better, or it's going to be able to review your writing for you, right? Or photographers, it's like you already know how to visualize the shot. You already can explain it to MidJourney to be able to create images that are similar to what you're creating, so that you can provide your clients B-roll imagery that they can use in backgrounds of things that you weren't able to shoot because you ran out of time or you didn't have the right thing. Like it can supplement so much if you are already a creative thinker. And that's why my course is aimed for creatives, creators, and entrepreneurs, because those are the people that are thinking outside the box already, right? I'm not teaching accountants how to use it because I don't,
You're not in that world.
their brain is not my brain, but I can speak to creatives and I can tell you how, if you already have these ideas, here's how you can be using it to further those.
Yeah, love it. I want for myself a little Lizzie McGuire animated character of myself. That's the next thing I'm going to be working on with the character modifications in MidJourney, because I have always wanted that for myself as a Disney Channel kid. I just feel like there's a million use cases for it. Anyway,
I think you should do it
forever. That's the problem. But that's why you
I
keep
know.
coming back on the podcast, because every time something happens, I'm like, oh, let's talk about it. Things have happened. Things have changed. So again, if this is your first time hearing Lauren, definitely go back to episode 113 and 131. It's nice because the numbers are consistent. I don't know which one this will be by the time we're recording, but this is, if you literally listen to all of her episodes and then you also followed her on Instagram, you'd first of all pick up so much information, but you also have your course and you run fun little workshops and other things. Go ahead and plug yourself. Tell us where we can find you, learn more, all of that good stuff.
Sure. So my course is called Basecamp. It's AI inside of BS because my brand is Bemuse Studio. And so you can go to joinbasecamp.com to join the course. It is a pre-recorded course, so you can go at your own leisure. It's not live. There's no live aspect to it, but you get access to Lobot, which is the custom GPT that I trained on the course material. So it's kind of a stand-in for me. But you also get access to the Launchpad, which is my free community. And you can actually, this doesn't make any sense, but you can go to basecamp.com and that will get you into the Launchpad that you can sign up. And what's really cool about the Launchpad is that there's gamification in it. So as long as you are commenting and sharing and posting in the group, whenever you get a like, you get a point. And as you gain points, you can unlock content. Some of that content is lessons from the paid course. Some of the content is prompt starters. Some of the content is just, tools, other just different things that I have in there that are unlockable at different levels. So the Launchpad is a really great place to start if you're like not ready to make an investment in the course yet. It's free and you can chat with people, share your work, get feedback, all of that. And then I also have my chatbots and chill sessions, which are one-on-ones that you can book where they can really be whatever you want them to be. If you want to learn more about MidJourney, if you have very specific questions and like, hey, I need a workflow for this, we can put together a workflow for you. I've got 2 one-on-ones tomorrow where we're building custom GPTs for their clients. So the one-on-ones are really helpful if you just are like, hey, hold my hand and come into my business and show me what I can do. People are finding them very helpful. And then what else? A MidJourney course is coming. I'm working on it. I've really been trying to wait until they get off Discord so that I can just teach the whole thing in the alpha site. But I'm going to start recording that very soon so that when it is available to everyone, the course will be available. And follow me on Instagram, the Bemuse Studio. I try and share as much free info on there as I can as well. In the Launchpad, I have some lives that I'm doing. So yeah, it's all I care about is showing other people how to use AI and really letting them know that it can truly change their lives. And I think that's like a scary thing to say. Sometimes I feel like I'm like selling snake oil where it's like, oh, like that's not true. It's like, no, like AI can change your life. It can change your business. I feel like before we had even connected, you weren't using it. And now you're using it everywhere, right? It's like, it truly is such a game changer. And I know that's overused and I overuse it, but it's such a game changer.
And it's fun to be at the forefront of something. Like, it's really fun to be an early adopter to new tech. My mom has always been this person. She always got the new iPhone like the week that it came out, because there is something as a business owner where that is so related to what you do and how you show up for people, is by being someone who is constantly learning and is constantly curious. I think curiosity is so underrated in entrepreneurship, and being someone who can like put your ego aside and learn something new is everything. Everything as an entrepreneur.
Yeah, I think you have to be willing to put that ego aside. And I think there are a lot of people that are feeling threatened by it, but it's like, listen, We're all going to have to evolve. Let's all just like pull up our pants and like learn something new. I just think there's
we all get to evolve. We all get the opportunity to evolve. Like we all get the opportunity to not be slaves to our laptop with those predictions of like what humans were going to look like by 2035 with the bulging eyeballs and the tech neck and the bad posture. Like we get the opportunity to evolve past the limitations of our current setup and get outside and go read books and go to museums and see new places and have conversations and expand your mind, expand your boundaries. And that's why I think people are leaving their 9-to-5 jobs, is because that model doesn't work for people anymore. And the tech is allowing it. So we get to evolve. Like, hello, like that's where we're headed. So I think people that see it as like, we have to, also it's the have to get to, right? Like the glass half full of this is like, we get the opportunity to do what we want to do and visualize this picture we see in our brain faster, and what a blessing that is as well, to like help share a vision with someone else, right? So I think that's the other thing we get to think of here, is like we get the opportunity to evolve. That feels more fun. Yeah?
I agree. I mean, I'm the same way as your mom, because my dad was the same way. It's just like to be able to be on the forefront. And I also think too, to that same point, and I'm going to wrap it up, but people want to work with forward thinkers. People aren't trying to work with people that are like, oh yeah, no, I don't use AI. I'm not trying to use new tech. It's like, okay, well, I'm going to go find someone that knows what I don't know. So see you later. You know what I mean?
Exactly.
Like, I think if you're using it, tell people you're using it, explain to them how you're using it so that they understand why it's valuable to them.
Completely agree. Well, everybody, thank you so much for listening. If you learned anything today, please share it to your stories, share it to your socials, share it with a friend, share it with your pet, baby, whoever. And as always, you can email any ideas into podcast@mkwcreative.co. If you have a topic that you specifically want Lauren to deep dive on, I would love to have her back if she would give us more of her time. Yeah. Thanks, Lauren.
Always.
Bye.
Always.
Everybody.
Bye.